watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Training plays a critical role in the success of dealership staff and in turn a customer's experience, yet far too often dealers are challenged with understanding those exact needs. Quantum 5, a company that recognizes there is no one-size-fits-all approach, delivers skilled training that drives the entire sales and service process within the automotive buying experience. On today's show, we are joined by Ms. Sarah Vantine. I know that you know this young lady. She's all over retail automotive, so thank you so much to come in the studio today and talk to us about this.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Sure. So what is Quantum 5 working on right now? What's new coming from your camp?
Well, it's been really exciting. So we have been really paying attention to what's been happening across retail automotive. Mm-hmm. And of course, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of changes in how sales departments are really focusing on some of their KPIs, service departments, and BDC as well. And so what we've heard from all of our clients and then clients that we're talking to in the marketplace is it's really time to have a holistic approach to dealership learning.
Yeah,
and no longer can we really afford to have the sales department doing things one way and the service department doing things a totally different way.
That happens, Sarah? I didn't know that happens in a dealership. I thought the two worked so well together.
Well, and you know, it's a big challenge that's been happening, and I think more of late just because we've had so many people coming into dealership and dealership retail, new hires coming in that didn't have to do some of the things prior to COVID.
That's right.
That have since now been coming back into the forefront.
Yeah.
And communication is key for the customer experience across all of those channels. And so we really want to enable dealerships to have an inclusive way to teach communication across all of their departments.
That's right. It's so vitally important, especially as we see those lots filling back up with inventory and we see more cars in the service center. So now is the time to get your house in order, isn't it? I mean, it should have been done even earlier, but for those dealers that are out there that are trying to play catch up, training is at the forefront, isn't it?
Yes, so this is really the time, if there's not already a plan in place, this is the time to really start buckling down and focusing on what's happening with your customer experience.
That's right.
And you know, I'll just say I have a family member that recently went through an acquisition for a vehicle. She was car shopping and the experience was quite a bit fragmented, you know, even with how she was looking to service her vehicle and then ultimately purchase a new vehicle.
Sure.
That miscommunication between departments, the miscommunication that happened between the salesperson and her, it left to a lot of frustration. And so if we think about what's happening in our dealerships, chances are there's a lot of staff that has not received adequate training in the last few years. And even people that have been in their organizations for a number of years. Well, digital retail is totally different today than it was 3 years ago. There's all kinds of new methods and techniques that really elevate the customer experience that we can bring to the table.
That's right. And sometimes it's difficult to get that across to dealership management because they'll say, well, you know, Sarah, I don't know what the problem is. We've had a record month, you know, month after month. Our profits are there, and you know, are we solving a problem that doesn't exist?
They say, well, I've been profitable and I see that I'm holding gross and I'm making money on all these trades. What do I really need to change? And the reality is the whole customer experience is going to change, either from the OEM directive as they look at the service experience that happens to a customer and the communication they receive as they go about trying to service their vehicle. You know, as something as simple as booking the appointment, other elements like moving along into the repair order, even picking up their vehicle, customers are asking for a lot of different ways to be able to experience that ownership of the vehicle in a way that's meaningful to them.
That's right.
So some people might want to have their vehicle serviced in their driveway. Other people might want to come to the dealership. We have to be able and ready for where the customer ultimately is taking our business. And so training is critical no matter what department it is to be focused on right now.
That's right. And the staff inside the dealership is just yearning for more training, right? I mean, that's really what they want in an effort to do their jobs better, right?
Yes, and we have the data that really backs up that exact statistic. So one of the facets of our company, ESIQ, we really focus on looking at that the employee experience as it pertains to their job in the organization. And behind compensation, having that training and additional support for them to have a path forward in the organization is the second most common reason why employees leave dealerships and seek out other opportunities.
That's right.
So it's really, really important. You know, compensation, of course, is always going to be important as we consider jobs and opportunities. But that next piece is, how am I being developed? What are my career paths? Where can I go in the organization? That all ties right back into training.
That's right. And there's a correlation, obviously, between the training that one gets and their income in the automotive, in the automotive dealership, because there's so many are on commission. You know, that plays a big role in it. But if I'm not trained on how to do my job better and to make more money for myself and my family, then to your point, I'm going to move on, right, to those companies that do provide an effective training program. Yes,
and that's something that the great thing about this is, you know, we're changing lives not just for the partners and the GMs in a dealership. The training is changing lives for their employees. Having the opportunity to have different methods to engage in learning instead of having it be punitive and something that's just, here's a test for the sake of a test, let's see how you score. Nobody really learns effectively by just getting a multiple choice test and then getting an arbitrary score, and then they never look at the information again.
That's right.
We wanted to create a platform that allowed learners to really navigate learning through a holistic method and give the leaders the ability to still have that accountability and still measure ROI, but do it in a more engaging fashion.
For sure. So what is the Quantum 5 Performance Suite, and what does it offer?
Yes, so the Quantum 5 Performance Suite is really, really exciting. What we created with this in mind is that because dealerships are looking for that holistic experience with their sales, service, and leadership teams, providing really a unified approach to how they handle customer interactions, we wanted to create a training program that was cost effective for dealerships to also deploy training across all of those platforms. So the Performance Suite is a completely inclusive training program that allows a dealership to be able to impact their service department, their leadership team, the sales department, and the BDC teams, and provide all of those departments training in one cohesive platform.
Wow, that's fantastic. Where's that been? I mean, I want to become a dealer again. I mean, that's exactly what we've needed in the industry, right? Rather than all of these different platforms to go to, you brought it all together.
Yes, and there's so much in terms of how the customer experience really perceives a dealership that we tie all of this training and all of this ongoing learning into. And so if you think about what happens when a customer comes in to buy a car, they may have in a typical dealership a very, very specific way that car gets sold, but then that salesperson may not follow up with them or may not have communication. Well, then it comes time to service the vehicle, and now this customer is getting this whole different treatment of however that service advisor's been trained to communicate. And then think about it from like the BDC or CSI follow-up. Now they're getting this third or even fourth, if they're down the road equity mining this customer and trying to get them to trade in their vehicle. This customer is getting all this different type of communication from one organization. And what happens is customers get confused. They lose confidence in the dealership and that dealership's ability to continue to help them for the life that they own that vehicle. And so what we wanted to do with the Performance Suite is really address all of those key concerns for an organization.
How frustrating is it when you've traded with a dealership and you purchased a new vehicle and they're sending you 6 months later or even a year later opportunities or offers, I should say, for the vehicle that you traded in. And you're thinking to yourself, do they even know that I traded that vehicle in with their dealership? And I'm still getting emails or maybe direct mail about that last car that I had a year ago, right? That's crazy.
And that fragmented experience we have to address because customers, number one, they deserve better. But then also it's frustrating for our employees too. So if we're thinking about how do we retain good employees, how do we attract talent to our dealerships and to the organization, we have to have a way that we address all of the training across every single aspect of the dealership. And really at that same token, we have to make sure that it's cost effective for a dealership to be able to envelop their entire organization within that program.
That's right. I can't tell you how amazed I am when a dealer will hold off on training their people, but they'll spend $100,000 a month in advertising and marketing. It blows me away because they'll say, well, we don't really have a training budget per se. How do you have a staff of maybe 10, 20, 30, 50 people that are all consumer facing, and you don't have an ongoing training program of some type, right? Have you found that to be the case where dealers have got a plethora of money for everything else, including a multi-million-dollar facility, an incredible ad budget, but yet when it comes to training their people and developing their people, this is where the industry falls short in many cases?
Yes, and some of it is even centered around maybe awareness of not knowing exactly what KPIs truly are going to be important within that whole ecosystem. With training especially, training sometimes is hard for dealerships to look at because they think, well, I don't necessarily see an ROI, dollar signs tied to it.
That's right.
Well, the great thing about what we provide is we actually have the ability to look at that data and look at the different KPIs across an organization. So you think of it from the telephony perspective, BDC, how many phone calls are being handled, how many appointments are converted, what that shop capacity mix even is, and how they're scheduling those service appointments, all the way to dollars per repair order, gross profit on the front of the vehicle. All of these different metrics we can tie an ROI value into based on how their people are going through training and the skills that they continue to equip and grow within.
Sure, that's so vitally important to be able to show that to a dealer, right? Because then they just think of training as kind of one of those touchy-feely nice things to have, but to your point, they want to be able to put an ROI on it, right? And you're able to do that.
Yes, and
cool.
Taking it even further with that, it's important because for the employees at the dealership, we also want to have those KPIs that we provide to ensure that the culture of the organization is heading in the right direction for what the dealer wants.
Right.
If they're trying to attract and keep talent, we also provide data to the dealership and look at those culture measurements, and so we can say, okay, how are your employees feeling about this dealership? Are they excited to come to work every day? Is this an organization that they would recommend to their friends and family for employment?
Right.
Or, in the event they're looking for another opportunity, why are they looking for other opportunities?
That's a good point.
Those pieces are critical to head off ahead of any of those training initiatives, because without that data, you're just completely going in blind and hoping that a program sticks.
That's right. And you're also assuming, as many dealers do, and I think I did this when I was running dealerships, you assume that if employees are there, they must be happy. Right? Well, they're all working for me, so therefore everybody that is here is happy, and that's just not the case in many stores, right?
And it's simple things that you can really look at with that kind of data to stack up against, well, how do I perform? Let's just say that the dealership is a Honda brand.
Right.
Well, how do I compare against all the other Honda dealerships in the country?
Sure.
How do I compare regionally? How do I compare nationally? We can look at all of that data and segment it, and then it's even more empowering because then you can say, okay, well, I know a Honda dealership in Arizona probably has similar operational procedures as the dealership in North Carolina as it pertains to the selling of a vehicle.
Sure.
But if the culture is very different in the data, then you start to peel back those layers of the onion and think about, well, how do I impact that change? Is it giving the employees more opportunities for learning? Is it providing more personal development? And is it providing more enrichment for them? Or, in some cases, is it compensation?
Sure.
If it is, well, let's examine that against where you are in your state, how that looks, across the board, and even regionally and nationally.
That's right. That's right. So vitally important. So what's next for Quantum 5?
Next, we have some other really exciting developments that are happening. So, of course, Quantum 5 has a robust technology that we utilize to support our ongoing training and what we call our sustainable learning within an app environment. But the other piece that's really critical to that is also the involvement of what we call our community team. And so what we've found a lot of dealerships have wanted is really this kind of twofold approach, where their people are getting all of this coaching and support from an individual that's helping them do one-on-one role play, even sending scenarios like, hey, I just got this email from this customer and I don't know how to respond.
Sure.
Having someone available very quickly to get back to them and help them in that incident, versus relying on maybe one manager at the desk that all of the salespeople are trying to go to
of course,
at the same
it's
time.
impossible. Right.
So we've created this way for somebody to get real help from an individual as part of our community team, but then also the learning that they experience. They have so much more pathways that they can explore relative to their specific role in the dealership. But even outside of that role, we are developing the app to have even more what we call journeys available to that learner to go off into other directions to continue to reinforce their training, regardless of what comes up in their day. The great thing that's really fun about seeing some of the initial data from our new release that's been really fun is that we see all these different individuals across dealerships from leadership, service, sales, BDC, but they're engaging maybe 2-3 minutes going through one particular short journey, bounce and go into something else, but then later in the day, maybe they touch on a different content. And maybe that's something that's relative to them in the afternoon. Maybe it has to do with tire sales or overcoming an objection. Any of those types of content, they have the ability to bounce around. They don't have to get stuck going down one specific pathway to engage in the learning. They have the entire opportunity to look at anything within that ecosystem.
That is fantastic. So talk to us about some of the upcoming events. You're going to be at Digital Dealer. You're going to be at NADA. Obviously, you're going to be at a SOTU event as well. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we've got some really exciting travel opportunities that we hope dealerships will come in, say hi to us and learn a little bit more about what we bring to the dealership training environment. We will be at Automotive State of the Union coming up in Baltimore in September. We will also be a Digital Dealer in Las Vegas and of course at NADA for the big show out there as well. So we will be having a booth at all 3 of those shows. Definitely would love to see some dealers come by and then learn a little bit more and get to see everything that we've put together.
That's right, and we've also seen you as kind of the co-host there at Ted Ng's event for the roundtable, the Fixed Ops Roundtable, right? I know they've got those pop-up shows that they do, and you were, I think, the co-host of one of them recently, so that was pretty cool. You did a great job.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. It's been exciting to also get to put on the co-host hat and work on some of those pieces too.
Right. Well, I'm going to take a week off and let you sit in for me. So I will be down in sunny South Florida. But Sarah Vantine, Vice President of Sales for Quantum 5, these are the kinds of solutions that we want to be bringing you here at CBT News. This, as you know, training is near and dear to my heart. I'm a former sales trainer myself, and I know the importance of providing your people with training. This isn't something that just is a nice to have. This is a must have. If you don't have a program like Quantum 5, then you need to spend some time with Sarah Vantine. Just give her a call and kind of do an analysis. She'd be happy to help you with that at your dealership and kind of benchmark a little bit, right? To say, here's where you are now, this is where we can bring the dealership, and we can do it with a very comprehensive platform, and that's Quantum 5. Check them out online, and so Sarah, thank you so much for coming into the studio. Very much appreciate it. These, as I said, are the kinds of solutions that we want to be providing to our dealer body. So thank you so much.
Jim, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great, thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.